Crypto Sniper here, Bitcoin, and we're looking at USD. That's the Poloniex. So this is our setup. We had a descending grind line. You'll learn about that on a program. You can find out more, plus the upside there within a channel. And then with a nice rounded bottom over here. I did see that, and I wondered if we were going to get a deeper downward dip. It went the other way. This was the beginning of our break. This is a triggering event that we've been awaiting for Bitcoin, and I'll tell you why we were awaiting. We had some indication thereof that this would be coming, and I thought it would be to the upside. I just didn't think it would happen today, but the market can always startle you, and of course it triggered, little rest, and triggered some more. Reach our interim level. You can learn about how we do these interim levels. So that means possibility of a little bit of a stall, even a pullback. Longer run target means we are running 6.6, and we're going to be doing it fairly promptly. Yes, you heard me right. In other words, not too distant future, we will be through 6.6 on this, in spite of the possibility of a dip back. We can drop to a lower time frame and see how it's looking so far at the moment on the interim, and that's roughly what's going down. But for now, it doesn't matter if we get a little bit of a pullback. It's totally in line with expectations in terms of what we think is coming. So what are you to do with this information? Well, we've got another key aspect that doesn't get analyzed very often, and in fact this is the first time I'm ever seeing it being done, and it's being done by us, so we're quite happy about doing that. But before we get too glowy and proud, let's just have a look at what it is in fact we're doing. We're looking at the total market cap including Bitcoin, the total market cap chart including Bitcoin, and we had takes of this. By the way, this isn't just today. I will show you on our private Basecamp, where in fact we were already looking at this, and the key element is we've spotted something of great interest there, and it was to do with the market cap elements. And we had on our trading day a little bit of a look at some of these aspects, and we were asking the question on the total market cap including Bitcoin, and there was a difference, quite some difference. This is a screenshot from our trading day. Had we just had a breakout at that juncture in terms of making a run for what was going to be 190 billion market cap. In fact, these double zones, 160 to 170, you can see actually represent 10 billion. And we had 10 billion more on top of the 180 level. It was pointing to a 190 billion market cap. Now, the interesting thing when you get an HVF is you get a certain time frame within it's got to occur as well from when it triggers. Now, we were watching this and we were charting on the total market cap. And why were we doing this? Because it was more interesting. And look at the market cap without Bitcoin, far flatter, no upside HVF in play, far flatter, long selling period here. It ended here for Bitcoin, and it started at second impulse, but down here you just continue to trade lower down. Eventually you got you got a bit of an alt pump when Bitcoin was doing a little bit of a third move up there, but apart from that it was very, very docile. So it looked like the future. What can you deduce from this? Why are we doing this? Well, we have a methodology, and we're looking at a market cap including Bitcoin in the top chart, and a far duller chart that doesn't seem to have the same level of upside excluding Bitcoin. What that means is when you're going to get an upside break and you're going to get that target that we were pointing to up at 190 billion, that the bulk of that additional move, and we were at 173 billion, we were at 179 today, so that has certainly moved forward, and I'll be showing you the revised draw on that. Still means that there's another 11 billion to come in increased market cap. Some might go, oh, that's not a lot. Well, if a lot of that is going on Bitcoin's movement, it's going to be quite a bit in terms of percentage move. So we're going to have a little look at that and a little bit of an update draw of that and see how that has panned out. So if we go back to the live chart, you can see that indeed we had this as an H3, we had that as a low 3 element, and we have broken out. So I've done the draws for this, and it hasn't changed the market cap expectations by very much. 190 billion, it's still roughly, it's going to be slightly higher than 190 billion now. You can see that line is marginally lower on there. So if I just draw a little arrow there, We've taken the 20 billion scale of this, and this is all just doing rough geometry. Here you can see that we're going to probably push through 190 billion by a couple of billion, and that this most definitely is a triggering event breakout for us, and we're very happy with that move. We expect the market cap to go there, and we were giving you a time. We won't tell you how we do it. You need to find out a program to find out all the minutiae of this, but we're looking at 2 weeks. So before mid-November, before the end of mid-November, our on balance of probability, not a guarantee, our on balance of probability forecast or scenario cast, which we think has a high element of potentially becoming true, is that the crypto markets will have traded through 190 and could well be 191 and a bit in market cap and approaching, and I expect the headlines to get all squealy and squeaky as we get into the 190s. That we will have done rather well and in quite a fairly short time frame. Now, you've probably seen increases not far off that, and even in some instances a little bit better. But if a disproportionate amount of that is going to Bitcoin, it could be very good. But is that the case? Well, we'll have a look at that and we'll see, because essentially it's not looking so much the case anymore, because we got a little bit of a move out of the alts as well on the market cap. So while this is clearly the dominant break is Bitcoin, if we look just a little bit for the same time period under review, the 10th of the 10th and 2017, we actually still have a lower slung, slightly less high quality HVF, with that being H1, L1, H2, L2, very tight little funneling period, and we've had a move out. But given the choice between the two, it's quite clear which one is the big performer, and that has been an absolute ripper. Of course, you could get overperformance on the Bitcoin side and still make a target on the setup here. So I haven't drawn the excluding market cap potential setup, but prior to this there was no real setup, but now we can see there was a clear squeeze, and now we have moved up out, and we're probably likely to take out that H2 point if we haven't already. So that means all coins are going to move a little bit, but it certainly looks like Bitcoin is going to do more, certainly on the initial, and then this as a quality of pattern is a far higher quality of pattern as well. So that brings us to how much and where and how. So this is a little bit of the analysis that we do. And if we go to Ethereum, for example, and we look at the majors, so I'm going to look at the majors right now and show you how we've been analyzing that, and this is what we've concluded. So why do we think Bitcoin will do better than the others? Maybe that other setup on the market caps excluding Bitcoin will catch up and out accelerate to the upside, and maybe it will be the alts. No, we don't think on balance of probability that is the case, mainly because we are in macro downward setups, and we also have a micro setup here, low ones, high ones, low twos, high twos, and a squeeze and a break to the downside. Now if you short from here in and around the 492s down to these levels at the 4-1s, that's going to be a 15% downside move for Ethereum. Okay, let's have a look at Ripple. Well, if you short from here at these levels, roughly at the 32s, and you hold it until the target, which is going to be the 27.7s, I work on about the 28s, that's another roughly 15% downward push. By the way, let's not also forget, for all our friends that are watching this for the first time, that in actual fact we are in a long run bearish setup for this pair that has been going for some time, and a target was made over here, and we're probably getting some level of overperformance on some other exchanges. That target is yet to be made, so that is Ripple's down there. Now on Ethereum we have a similar macro. In other words, we've been bearish Ripple and Ethereum. That's against the dollar, so excuse that for a while. That's not the one I wanted. Let's go here. If we go on the bigger time frame, you can see that we have got this larger macro target all the way down here that still could play out right the way down to 32s. It is specific to the Poloniex exchange. Others have made their target. That was a very big spike that occurred on the Poloniex, almost like a flash crash. So I would put this particular pattern under advisory notice. So there is a bit of an exceptional case with that particular tick. On Bitfinex and others, that tick just ended down here, and those targets have been made. But either way, we've been bearish and we've had downside performance. So even if we say this pattern is suspect, it's just one exchange that had really spiky data, and we would still say you've had a performing downside pattern on all the other exchanges. I've done this in more detail against Bitfinex and Bittrex, etc. So we continue to assume success and the making of patterns to the downside or the upside if we are in an upside swing, until such time as the price behavior indicates that a reversal has taken place. We're never going to have that first 5 or 10%. We don't try catch falling knives. So the default assumption, big rejection there on both these candles, looks like further downside as well. So when we have a look at those smaller patterns, where we've looked at them against Ethereum, we've looked at them against Ripple, there's even done a little look against Litecoin, and if you look at going from 92 down to 80s, you're going to be roughly 15% again. So that's about 12 difference divided by about 90, and you're going to come out roughly at about 14-15% there. So they've all got a natural geometry indicating that they will fall relative to Bitcoin. That doesn't mean against dollar that they're going to do badly. This could go up, this could go down, they could turn, they could churn. Overall, the Bitcoin is marching against the dollar, and as we've already indicated, we're expecting a 6.6 there. So if we were to get a further 15% move relative to the other cryptos, if we were to get a further 15% move relative to the other cryptos, we've certainly got a target here for 6.6 on this pattern. That only represents, we're at roughly 6,180, that represents another 420 to running the 6.6 here. That is not 15%. What could then occur is we set up again, if we were to expect that the Ethereum and Ripple are largely going to hold their own against the dollar. So this is quite a complex YouTube clip I'm doing here, because I'm triangulating against a lot of things. Excuse me here for a second. And there's always scope for one aspect to go wrong. So if we just get the dollar up here, if Ethereum largely doesn't do a great deal against the dollar, and Litecoin as well doesn't do a great deal against the dollar, and they stand and they hold their ground. This is Ethereum again against the dollar. I'm expecting, no, it's the Bitcoin one. Excuse me, so many charts, it's almost getting confusing. So my view is, if those hold ground against the dollar and don't slip against the dollar, but they are slipping against Bitcoin, that would probably mean that the Bitcoin has another 15% to go. So the mathematics implied there would, after running 6,600, we might pause for a while, or we may just go straight into overperformance and set up. If we pause for a while, we may set up to go a little bit higher. The alternative is, if the other cryptos, as the market cap has indicated, go up some element, because they were showing that they weren't bad and they are in a breakout. So if we're going to have a 15% move between Bitcoin and the majors like Litecoin, Ethereum and Ripple, Bitcoin, this particular upper pattern is going to outperform this lower one by 15%. But if this one is also going up relative to the dollar, Bitcoin's price to the dollar should exceed a 15% move. So this upward potential setup here, if it leads to a higher market cap excluding Bitcoin, and that's largely topped out at about 80, it came down to about sub 70 over here. If it then has its own move and even makes its target, but Bitcoin has 15% overperformed, we would actually have quite a substantial dollar-based move in hand. Now, the setup here has got 2 weeks to make it to its 190 market cap. If we're having similar levels of growth out of the other ones, well, it's gonna be a very, very interesting study. We could potentially have Bitcoin gaining against the dollar at 15% and or more if it's moving 15% against the other coins. So Yep, I hope I haven't confused you all by this, but this is an interesting take on market cap. This is a high quality pattern, including Bitcoin. I would have a high probability, in my opinion. Of course, that's going to bring everybody out to say you're wrong if it doesn't happen, and that's okay. I understand dealing with, people that are getting free information on a YouTube and are quick to play yay and boo, but I would say 190 billion is pretty highly likely, and before mid-November, which implies another 18 to 7. Well, we're at 178. When it was 173, we thought another 17 or 18. We're now at 178, so we're already 12 billion. Only 12 billion to go. I say only like it's nothing, and I expect Bitcoin to have a large component of that. The more the other guys do X Bitcoin, the more it takes some of what Bitcoin might do away. However, the thing for doing the end-up valuation is the relative performance of Bitcoin to Ethereum and to Ripple and to Litecoin, and on all those smaller time frame setups, it certainly feels and looks like, correct that chart, it certainly feels and looks like we've got a 15% move. So for those of you, I am taking shorts against the alts in favor of Bitcoin with view to building Bitcoin. You could get a reasonable rally because we've run our first interim level. This is on Ripple. It's the same for Ethereum. However, longer run, we're expecting the larger target to be met. So there you go. Make of it what you will. This is not an advisory service. This is a free thought project with view to scenario casting the outcomes for crypto coins. Our overall assessment and view is that the major alts are to lose ground again in a continuation, almost a melt up of what has been the course for the last 6 weeks, that we've asserted as a number of times that people should be in Bitcoin, and apart from a few very short little forays into the likes of Vertcoin and one or two others, we have been almost 100% Bitcoin, that is going to prove a very good strategy, and that shorts against the major alts may actually see you accumulate. However, shorting has its own risks, and there are spikes, there are potential for people not to understand the financial mathematics. Highly conservative shorts certainly be overfunded for your shorting account, and if you don't know how to do it, certainly come and do a program and learn how we do it, and it's certainly not part of the scope of this clip. Anyway, so that'll see you gain further Bitcoin if this is to turn out as it should. So choose your alt to suit Ripple or Ethereum, and potentially even Litecoin. All are pointing to a loss of 15% to Bitcoin. If they are making some ground against the dollar, this could see Bitcoin make 15% or more, which would take it through the $7,000 mark. So where are we marking it at the moment? 6,170, and a 15% there is just sub $1,000, and there is scope for it to be between the 7,000 and 7,500, depending on how much of that upside is being utilized in the market cap by the alts. So that's Francis, confusing a number of people, but hopefully intriguing you as well. If you want to find out more about how we do this was a lot of content that we went into in great detail in an entire trading day. It's much easier to explain when you have hours rather than 15 minutes on a short clip, and you can do the maths together, etc., and create spreadsheets, and we've done some of that and shared it on Basecamp. So here you go. Come and have a look and get in touch. Go visit the website and do the necessary if you wish to find out more about what it is we do. That's Francis saying be well, and certainly do not be short the Bitcoin.